Happy Friday, everyone. I'm Tony Wolak, and this is the Hockey Writers Grind Line, the Red Wings roundtable for the hockey writers. For the past 5 years, the Grind Line has been a weekly column for the hockey writers. Now we're coming to you live. We're excited for another opportunity to discuss the latest Red Wings news, rumors, and strategy with the Hockeytown faithful. Before we dive in, let's meet our version of Chris Draper, Kirk Maltby, and Darren McCarty. First up, we have Devin Little. Devin, how's it going, buddy?
Good. Happy to have you back, Tony.
Yeah, happy to be back. Ian Galaxy Brain McNaughton, how's it going, bud?
I'm good, Tony. So should I take Virginia Tech in the upset this week against Clemson, or should I just ignore that?
Against the spread, yeah. I definitely not straight up. And Pat, how are you doing down there?
He's writing it.
He's taking notes.
Doing good. Good to have you back, Tony. I could sense that you missed our hot takes last week, so glad you're back.
I did. On Friday night while I was hanging out with the family, I got this weird twitch like Pat's going off on something, and I'm not sure he should, but he is.
It happened.
All right. So since we last had an episode of the Hockey Writers, the Grind Line Live, the Detroit Lions, talking about the Lions first, they fire their head coach, and it kind of brought to my attention that all Detroit professional sports teams are rebuilding at this point. So we're going to start off with that tonight. Detroit sports are not in a great place, but which Detroit sports team, whether it's the Red Wings, Lions, Pistons, or Tigers, which one of them are in the best place as far as the rebuild goes? And Ian, I'll pass it over to you first to give us your opinion on the matter.
I think the Red Wings are in the best position out of all four teams. You have the Red Wings, the Lions, Pistons, Tigers. I would say the Red Wings are in the best spot right now. Personally, I'm a Seahawks fan, and I cannot believe the Lions' interim head coach is our former offensive coordinator, Darryl Bevel. How he got a assistant job is beyond me. How he's now the interim coach is even more beyond me. That's more galaxy brain than I am. But I would say that the Red Wings are in the best spot. The Pistons are kind of in this purgatory of not good enough to succeed, but also not bad enough to fail. And the Tigers are not good at the moment. I don't think they have been for the last few years. And then you have whatever the Lions are. So that's kind of where we're at, I think, with the Detroit pro sports rebuilds.
All right. Devin, pass over to you.
All right, so I'm going to just go down the line here. The Lions are a mess and have always been a mess. I don't know if they'll ever not be a mess. That's all I have to say about them. The Pistons, they're just now starting to do the teardown that they desperately need. As good as Blake Griffin is, as good as Derrick Rose is, they needed the three first round picks that they had this past draft. I think they're starting to head in the right direction, but they're starting. I think the Red Wings are in the second best spot. It's starting to gain momentum, the rebuild. You're starting to see the plan kind of come into motion. But the fruits of the rebuild aren't on the ice yet, or at least they're not, up front and center yet. It's coming, but it's not here yet. And then I think the Tigers, are in the best spot. First of all, they've kind of lucked out and had the first overall pick 2 of the last 3 years. That'll definitely help you out. But their younger pieces are taking over the team on the field. They had a not great season this past season. They went 23-35, but from where they were, that's progress. They're already starting to kind of go on the upswing. I think the Red Wings are right behind the Tigers, but as far as I'm concerned, the Tigers are in the best spot right now.
Great analysis. Pat?
So 2 things. First, Ian, the Lions are the same old Lions. That would be what the Lions are. And then Devin, I wouldn't say the Tigers lucked out with the first overall pick. I would say they didn't get hosed by a lottery system that dropped them further in the draft.
Good point.
I feel like there's something to be distinguished there. But All joking aside, I completely agree. So I think you've got the Red Wings and the Tigers close to being respectable, both organizations. And you got the Lions and you got the Pistons that I think are a ways away. You all mentioned the Pistons. They're just starting that teardown. They really lack that star power. You brought up Derrick Rose and you brought up Blake Griffin, but they're shadows of what they once were. So they're really lacking that star power and just kicking things off. The Lions, you can never really tell. They have some of the pieces. And you look at DeAndre Swift, who I'm really excited about if he can stay healthy. They've already got some good pieces. Let's see if they can get it together in the front office. But when you look at both the Tigers and the Red Wings, personally, I think the Red Wings are slightly closer to being on top. I think you see that player development where you want to see it. The Tigers, you still have some question marks. They've drafted well. They've drafted high. But you haven't seen a lot of those players. Casey Mize was pretty disappointing in what we saw out of him last year, but you don't want to put too much stock into it because it was a really short season, and he didn't have the opportunity to grow and have as many starts as you'd necessarily like to see. So I put the Red Wings slightly ahead. Side note, I really think in a couple of years, we're going to have a lot to cheer for. We're going to have a lot to be excited about. And those previous years where you see the Patriots and the Bruins and the Celtics all just going off, wishing that was us, I think we're going to be there in a few years.
Way to be an optimist when we're talking about bad sports teams. I love it. For my, I guess for my pick, I'd have to say the Tigers. Devin mentioned some great reasons. Their pitching staff of the future, their prospects, that's probably their strong point right now with Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal and Matt Manning headlining what could be a really great rotation. In addition, they picked up Spencer Torkelson in the last draft, and if he's everything that people are saying he is, he's going to be a monster in the middle of the lineup. I think the pieces are starting to come together on the field with Torkelson, Willie Castro, and the rest of Detroit's different prospects. I agree that the Red Wings are right there. I think once we get past this upcoming season, there's going to be a little bit more excitement about the Red Wings. I think the 2021-22 season is going to be like the first year where it's like, okay, this team's actually kind of legit. I think the Tigers may show a little bit more promise this upcoming season before the Red Wings take or advance 2 seasons into the future. So that's where I stand in. Before the call or before this episode started, I forget, one of you mentioned the rumor of Jim Harbaugh to the Lions, and just please, for the love of God, do not let that happen. I do not want to see that. It's hard no. And then for the Pistons, they need to find their identity. I think with their new GM Troy Weaver, I think that it'll take a few years. They need some more star power there, as Patrick mentioned. But I think tearing it down is the first move. So they're the furthest away. But then again, we'll see what happens over the next couple of years.
Can I just add 2 quick little
Sure.
things? So one, just to kind of piggyback off of what you just said, I think Troy Weaver, just off of this one, glimpse that we've seen from the draft, whatever, he definitely has that Iserman-esque aggressiveness to him. If he sees a move he wants to make, he's going to do it. And I think that bodes well for the Pistons' future. Like you said, it's probably going to take some time, but I think if your man in charge is willing to do the things necessary to get the right pieces in place, you're in good hands. And then the second thing is, personally, I just think that this upcoming season, if we have one, whenever it is going to be the last one where the Red Wings are like truly in tear down mode. I think every season beyond this one is going to be kind of a build up more than it is a tear down. And I think that for me is why the Tigers are ahead, because I think that they're more in the build up phase than they are in the tear down.
That's actually a great transition. I did want to talk about the upcoming NHL season. There's more news coming out this week. January 1st, as optimistic as people can be doesn't seem realistic now. And I think the players involved in making that decision, players being NHL players and owners and Gary Bettman, kind of acknowledge that. So, I believe it was Elliot Friedman this morning mentioned January 15th as a possible start date. That'd be great. It's my dad's birthday. We'll be hanging out, hopefully watching a Red Wings game, but we'll see. But wanted to get your opinion on what a shortened season starting in January could look like in your opinion. For me, if it's starting in January, it needs to end before the Olympics. That's putting us right around 50, 60, probably 56, 54 games. I agree with Devin that this is going to be like the last year of the Red Wings being bad. The next season could be the 2021-22 season could be, kind of exciting for Hockey Town. But one thing about the shortened season, which we saw with the Tigers this summer, was it's a smaller sample size. So if there truly is parity in the league, you're going to see a lot closer races getting towards the end of the season. And sure, the Red Wings are probably going to be in the bottom 5 in the league, but I think they'll keep it closer. They're a deeper team this year. So, and maybe much later into the season before they get knocked out of the playoff race. And that's great for a rebuilding team, getting close, playing meaningful games, and, getting a glimpse of like hope down the road, and like you're building something and that's finally coming to fruition. So, Ian, I'll pass it to you first, and definitely want to hear your thoughts on a shortened season and what the Red Wings could do there.
I was optimistic when we did this last week that I thought Jan 1 would be a starting date, and another week's gone by and just nothing's happened. It just seems to be more bickering between the owners and the players. But if we can get to a Jan 15th date, I would love just to see any sort of hockey. And even if the Red Wings aren't going to be the best team, which they probably aren't, at least we get some idea for the year after, like going into the October for the next season, as to where this team's at, who's performing well, who isn't performing well. And ideally, you'd like to see a bounce back season from everybody. I think we discussed this before, but I think Jonathan Bernier was arguably the one guy who you don't need to see a bounce back season from. He was still fairly good for what he had in front of him. But like you say, Tony, this team's probably a bottom 5 team, and hopefully you'll see a more competitive team. That's the one ask, is that it's just more competitive.
Yep. Devin?
So I think the key thing that I've been seeing from all these reports about the negotiations between the league and the players is that the league really wants to position themselves for a normal, or as close to normal as possible, 2021-22 season. So I think everything that they do regarding the 2020-21 season is going to be with that mindset, and so for me personally, I just want to see hockey when it's cold out. I want to see hockey start when it's cold outside. Like we talked about March 1st as like probably like the last possible start date last week. And even that's pushing it for me, because I mean, at that point, what's the next big holiday? Easter or St. Patrick's Day? That's kind of crazy. Hockey's a cold sport. You want it to be, we talk about pond hockey and all that stuff. That's very much a winter thing. And obviously hockey is a winter sport. As far as the Red Wings are concerned, I think the key is if they're the last, if they're the last place team, there's not 30 points between them and the team that's in 30th place. Maybe just 2 points. Last year they were embarrassingly bad. A step up would just be bad, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. Pat?
All right. Are you guys ready? I think it's time. I think it's time. I think it's hot take time.
I'm surprised it took this long.
Yeah, literally though.
So, and I alluded to this last week, and I put a little more thought into it, and hear me out here, all right? So I think we fall right around a 52, 54 game season, right? We don't have as many games to play, so the NHL naturally decides they're going to allow at least 20 teams into the playoffs. I think in a 52 game season, the Red Wings, the way that they're currently built, could win easily. And I shouldn't say easily, but they'll win at least what they did last year, 17 games, if not 20. And if they can steal a few, and they can creep near that 500 mark, which I know is a lot, but if they can creep near that 500 mark, they could sneak into an expanded playoffs in a shortened season this year. We're talking playoffs this year.
Tony.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
You know, living in Arizona doesn't require hot takes for your hot weather down there, but if you feel so inclined, I don't know. As much as I'd love to see the Red Wings playing playoff games, especially if we're looking at like May and June when people, gotten the COVID vaccine and actually can go to games, that'd be really exciting. But I don't think it's going to happen. Like, there's still too much that needs to be done with the roster to like, okay, sure. Like the Red Wings, trade away free agents at the deadline, somehow squeak into the playoffs with Moritz Seider and maybe Lucas Raymond in the lineup coming back over from Europe. Who knows? But I would not wager $1 of my money on the Red Wings making the playoffs.
I will say there's almost always that one team that rides some serious puck luck into the playoffs. So I mean that could be the Red Wings, but like Tony, I'm not betting $1 on that. And also just to kind of plug the jersey I'm wearing, I would rather the Red Wings be in a position to draft Owen Power than to get into the playoffs. So.
Better for the long term,
There
for
is
sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, hands down, if the Red Wings are a playoff team, it's an ugly first round, whether it's a play-in round or an actual, quarterfinal type first round. It's a pretty ugly, pretty quick exit, no doubt about it. So having a little fun.
Although, wouldn't it be fun if the Red Wings pulled a move like the Chicago Blackhawks, go into the playoffs, face the Leafs in the first round, no one gives them any credit whatsoever, and the Red Wings somehow win? That would be fun.
That would be fun, absolutely.
It would not happen.
Do you know how confused and shocked the Toronto media would be if they saw the Maple Leafs losing to the Red Wings in any playoff series? I'd almost want to pay just to see that.
Somehow blame it on Mike Babcock too.
Yeah, it's all Babcock.
Yeah. Clearly.
No, it's Detroit or something.
It's Babcock and William Nylander. That would be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, Tony, I wanted to ask you about something because you came out earlier this week about the 3 worst contracts on the Red Wings currently. In case you haven't read it, you should go read it ASAP. But you had Mark Stahl, Danny DeKeyser. I believe it was Phil Fila was the other one.
Franz Nielsen, yeah.
Franz Nielsen, excuse me. Franz Nielsen. So with those 3 guys, do you think there's any chance that any of them play if we get a 50-game plus season, do you think any of them plays to the actual level of their deal this upcoming year? Is there any shot of that happening?
Well, it's an interesting question because I mentioned this in like the summary, the ending summary of the article. Contracts, I find it like they are the worst contracts on the Red Wings, but I do not blame the players whatsoever for making that money. That was agreed to by a general manager and the player and the player's agent. They're trying to maximize lifetime earnings. So good on them for making that money. But as far as like, if we're quantifying the value of a contract based on ice contributions, no, none of them are going to live up to that value. Franz Nielsen, definitely will not. Mark Stahl will not be worth $5.7 million. DeKeyser won't be worth $5 million on the ice. I don't blame them for making that money. Good on them. Like, they're setting themselves and their kids up for a long time. But if we're quantifying it that way, no, I don't think so. And I do think that that is one thing that we we should keep in mind as like the collective hockey media analyst group is like, players sign these contracts with a variety of different variables in play here. Like people like to joke like, oh, their off ice locker room presence, it must be great for them making that money. And to the team it is, like, otherwise they wouldn't be paying them that. Like I remember for the Red Wings, it's like, I don't know why we're paying Danny Cleary as much as we are in the old salary cap when it was like $41 million for the upper limit. But these players are worth something to the Red Wings besides what they can contribute on the ice. And for Franz Nielsen, like, yeah, his contract is the worst on the team. But when the Red Wings signed him, like that, I wouldn't say that they probably should have rebuilt then, but I think they're still trying to prolong the playoff streak and, get Henrik Zetterberg another chance at a cup. But they signed him to be a second line center. And because of the free agent market that year, there wasn't a whole lot of great options. So they had to overpay for him. And, Ken Holland liked to say that, we got him to come down on the cap hit just to extend it by another year on the term, which for all these contracts we've seen was not a good idea whatsoever with like the Kaiser and Nielsen and Eriksson and all of them. So it's refreshing to see that, the Red Wings are getting to a place where they really don't have very many bad contracts on the books anymore. And after this season, it'll be, Nielsen and DeKaiser will still be there, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Nielsen bought out next summer. It would come with a cap hit slightly under what he'd make next season, and then like a very minimal, like less than $1 million hit the year after that, which is perfectly fine. But I don't know if any of you guys had any strong opinions on Detroit's contracts.
I mean, go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. I just want to say that the key takeaway I took from the article, and you kind of already touched on it, it's just that in terms of where the Red Wings cap picture is today, there are no real detrimental deals. There are just ones that aren't as good as others. As bad as Nielsen's contract is, it's not hurting the Red Wings anymore. They still have just under $10 million in cap space. So it's like you said, it's a blessing that now we can talk about these contracts as, oh man, I wish we didn't have those, instead of, God, what are we going to do? We have this contract that's eating us alive. Like it's nice to talk about it in lighthearted terms,
I was going to say, Devin, that I think Detroit has the fourth or fifth most cap space still as we speak right now. So they are still, even with those contracts, in a position to make a whole bunch of moves if they still want to go and add, I don't know, Tyler Johnson, maybe.
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah. But there's still a world in which Detroit can make moves and can get better even with those contracts on the team.
Yep.
Man, remember the days of having to analyze, okay, so we've got Franzen on, he'll be going on long-term injured reserve. So, all right, we look like we're 5 over, but we'll be 2 under. Thank God those days are long gone. Felt bad for poor Mark Stahl, who made the list, Tony. What did he do? He just showed up. He got it out.
Highest paid defenseman now. Yeah.
I think, Tony, you hit the nail on the head. Devin reiterated it. They may be the worst contract on the team, but they're doing the team no harm. As to what Nielsen's deal did previously, we can talk all day about that, but that's water under the bridge. The team is going to have so much available. They may not even choose to buy out Nielsen at the end of the season. I think they will, but they may not. I see why they didn't this year, because that would extend that buyout period even longer. They had that second opportunity. Mentally, I thought maybe, but it makes sense to not, and to ride that out one more year if you're going to buy him out. So, I think it speaks volumes to where the organization is heading and the flexibility that Yzerman is going to have moving forward. I think we're going to see a few free agent splashes, if not next year, definitely in the next few years, and there's a lot to be excited about.
Absolutely.
And to have this kind of freedom while still having Zetterberg on the books, while having the Abdicator buyout on the books now, while still having Stephen Weiss on the books. Like, we're honestly in a really good spot. Like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys, it's the holiday season. I don't know about you guys, but as soon as we passed American Thanksgiving, it was full steam ahead Christmas with music and movies and all that. At least that's how it was in the Wolak household. So to end this, wanted to go through each of our top 3 holiday Christmas movies. I'll go first. Number 1, the Grinch, the original one from the 1960s, the animated one. That's my favorite. After that, Elf, and then, well, no, I take it back. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is number 2. Elf is close number 3. Love all of them. Can watch. I will probably watch all 3 of those multiple times before we hit Christmas. But I'm definitely ready for some hot takes here. So Ian, I'll pass to you first.
I noticed how you put Elf ahead of Lampoon Christmas, and then you corrected yourself. Just interesting.
Keyword corrected.
Corrected. He corrected himself.
Wow.
My kind of 1A, 1B. I have 1A as Lampoon Christmas. I have 1B as Home Alone. And I want to get your guys' opinion on the third one, if I can use this one. Can we do like the old TV specials? Because I wanted to do Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the old TV special. Because I'm going to put
definitely.
I'm going to put that in as number 3, and because I still tear up when he goes to Island of Misfit Toys. So those are my 3. I got Lampoon, Home Alone, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Before we pass off to Devin, I do want to at least defend my choice for Elf here for a little bit. As a 6'4" individual, I do empathize with being a Sasquatch, like misunderstood in a smaller person's world. So yeah, I can, at the beginning of the movie where he's like, a full ass grown ass man with all those elves, I understand. So that's why I love the movie so
Taking
much.
the shower in the cram space.
Literally anytime I go to a hotel. Devin, you're up.
So I just want to say that Tony, you and I should watch some Christmas movies sometime because I like your taste. Number 3, I'm going to go reverse order here. Number 3, I'm just going to say The Grinch in vague terms. I don't care whether it's the classic one or the newest one that came out a couple years ago. I just really like that character. Actually, back in my senior year of high school, I got to play the Grinch. We put on a little show for elementary school kids, and that was a blast. So I've got kind of an attachment to that character. Number 2, gotta be Christmas Vacation. It's one of those movies where you've seen it 20 times and you still laugh at something. Like it's that good. And then number 1, it's Elf. I was a huge Will Ferrell fan in his peak. And I think that movie is peak Will Ferrell and peak Christmas. So, yeah.
Great. Pat?
I like it. So I'll have to dig out Ian somewhere. I have a Yukon Cornelius stuffed animal. So I'll have to. He'll have to make a guest appearance maybe for next week's episode. Going in reverse, just like Devin did. Number 3. I don't want to hear any arguments here. Yippee-ki-yay, Die Hard, and it is a Christmas movie. Debate over. Number 2, I'm so sad I didn't hear this from any of you. You'll shoot your eye out, Ralphie. A Christmas Story. I actually take a lot of flack in this house because I will turn it on Christmas Day when it runs 24 hours a day on TBS and TNT and every other T out there. I will turn it on. Doesn't matter where it is. I'll just keep watching it, but pretty much on a loop all day. And number 1, a wise man once said that I would watch this movie any time of year. Doesn't just have to be Christmas. Definitely National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. If you are not quoting that movie in July, you are never able to get in the Christmas spirit.
Love it. I will say, not a fan of Christmas Story. Just wasn't. But yeah, I agree. It's funny. I love National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, but like whenever I go visit my parents, you're right. It could be the middle of July. We're out on the lake. It's like 100 degrees, and my stepmom quotes the quotes Christmas Vacation perfectly in context for something, and it's a great movie. There's so many great lines and just like little nuances to it that make it so awesome.
I was gonna say, I think that's why I love Lampoon Christmas so much, because it kind of reminds me of my family a little bit and how chaotic it can be during the holidays, and just all the different storylines that are going on at one time. It's great. I love it.
No chestnuts roasting on an open fire, just a roasted cat after the tree goes up. All right. So thanks everyone for joining today. We have our next the Grind Line article coming out on Monday. We're going to talk about the next playoff team that the Red Wings that we're going to see from the Red Wings. Hopefully, we'll see playoffs in Hockeytown soon enough. Be sure to like our Facebook page and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So for that, thanks everyone for joining. And guys, any last words before we close this out?
This is just really fun. I'm glad we get to do this every Friday. Are we going to talk about music? Because we had some music hot takes before we got on here.
By all means, go for it. I want to hear this.
Oh boy.
That's what we like to
Here we
call
go.
that's what we like to call a tease in the business. We'll do that next week, maybe.
Perfect. I want to hear about everyone's Spotify Wrapped playlist here.
Oh boy.
All right. Thanks, everyone.